Good morning and welcome to Wake Up Wednesday. This is Regina Clark. My business is Brainwave Balancing, and today we're going to have some more tips and tricks of how to navigate this beautiful thing called life. What we pay attention to shapes the quality of our lives, and our consciousness is like a jar of marbles. There is a limited supply, and once it's exhausted, it is not easily or quickly replenished. So this becomes really important. If you've ever felt brain dead, you can't formulate one more thought, you can't take on one more thing. This is because we have too many marbles in the jar. If you were a computer, I would say you had too many windows open, or you're trying to run too many processes at once. And what happens is then the computer becomes sluggish. So the idea here that we're talking about is the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And you've probably heard some things, but I feel like this is a really unique viewpoint. So your subconscious can process 11,000 bits of information per second. Your conscious mind, which is limited, can only process 40 bits of information per second. And this becomes really important to understand because this, again, it's limited, right? It's finite. So we can't just keep putting marbles in the jar and think that it's not going to have an impact. So the more we keep piling them in there, right, and they start overflowing, what you are likely to experience is lack of focus or being easily distracted. I'm just going to read you my list here. Your ability to handle difficult situations decreases. You just don't have the bandwidth. You are less able to grasp the big picture. Could look a lot like tunnel vision. You're more likely to forget something. You have an increase in anxiety, stress, depression, and even irritation, and you have less joy in your life. So we just can't keep adding marbles indefinitely because the brain needs breathing room to work efficiently. They can't just be all crammed in there, right? It needs breathing room. So what are we going to do? That's the big question. And that's what I want to give to. And that's what I love is solutions. Let's be solution oriented. We can talk about the problems all day long, but what I can do, there's two big parts. The first one is that I can start removing marbles. And what this would look like is one of the ways is to complete tasks or projects that need to be completed. Because what happens is at one time, maybe this is something that you thought, oh boy, I really need to take care of that. Boy, I got to get that done. In the jar, the thoughts, it went into the conscious mind, and it doesn't really go anywhere else until you take care of it. So it's still there because at one time you said it was important. But now here we are, day after day, week after week, month after month. That project is still waiting on you to complete it, and it is taking up valuable real estate. 40 bits is not that much. So we want to complete every time we change a light bulb, it goes off the list, right? It frees up space. We don't want it all crammed in there. Every time I complete that thing that I said I was going to do, maybe I started my taxes and I haven't finished them yet. And so these are all things that we can do to free up space. Fixing things that need to be fixing, and even resolving what needs to be resolved. And that could mean having hard conversations. And it's easy to ignore the things that we don't want to do, but they still are taking up space. And so having the conversation is really important to go ahead and make the time. You'll feel so much better once it's done, and you'll be so much gladder, so much happier. So glad, yes, that too, that you got it off your plate. You'll just feel a weight lifted. Okay, so then the other thing is to declutter, both mentally and physically. So again, mental clutter. We talked last week about worry. That would be a great example. just worrying about things that are never even going to happen. It's like we project and then the fear and then we worry, and it's a waste of space and time. Okay, so do what you need to do to let go of the worry. Also, I would say that's future, and the past, right? Guilt and shame, that is absolutely taking up space, and you don't want to give it that space. So if it's in the past, it's past. So go ahead and do what you need to do to resolve it so that you can free up more space to do the things you want to do and to be the person that you want to be. Okay, so that's the big first step, is that we need to take the marbles out by doing some of these things, taking care of things, taking them off our plate. But the second part is, now that you've freed up some space, don't just start indiscriminately adding marbles back into your jar and filling it back up. Give yourself some time and space. Maybe you actually say no. You know that is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain when you tell somebody. You can be gracious and say, I would love to help you. I just can't do it right now. And you protect your space. You protect how you spend your time. You protect the marbles or your thoughts. And then you determine, you do it thoughtfully is the point. If you're used to just doing everything for everybody and saying yes to everything, you may need to rethink that, because it's going to start having an impact on you and you're probably not going to like the way it feels. Okay, so we need to be very thoughtful and intentional about how we spend our time. And then we can't not mention multitasking. Okay, so when we think we're doing all these things, I'm trying to talk on my phone and cook dinner and I'm listening to a podcast, and Lord only knows, right? We do these things. I do these things myself. I have to catch myself. I have to focus, because what happens is, we know that when you're doing more than one thing, your productivity decreases by 40%. So you're not really getting anything done any faster. It's slower. And the two things that you're trying to do, you're actually doing poorly. You're not even doing them well. So you're doing two things bad instead of doing one thing really well. So I don't know who came up with that word, but it's not a great word, and it's nothing to be proud of, to think that you can do 10 things at once, because you really can't. And you can only think one thought at a time, so make it a good one. Okay, so here we are. We are powerful people. Once again, we're just amazing, and we have the ability to create our lives. What we pay attention to shapes its quality. If we have too many marbles in the jar, we will be scattered and unfocused, and we will start to drop the ball. So let's start today by paying attention to where our focus is. Start being conscious of doing one thing at a time, paying attention and being present. And then start the decluttering process. Start taking things off the list, right? Start checking it off. And you'll feel so much better when you do, and you're going to find that you're a lot more productive and that you're a lot more clear-headed. So that's what I have for you today. I hope that there was something valuable in there for you, and I will see you next time. Until then, take care of those beautiful brains of yours and be your best, most conscious, relaxed, loving self that you can be. See you later.